The night it happened, most people were scrolling past headlines without a second thought, until one quiet report from Korean media began to spread, not with noise, but with warmth. It wasn't about charts, awards, or sold-out stadiums. It was about Christmas. And somehow, it was about Jungkook. At first, the story felt almost too gentle for the speed of the internet. No flashing alerts, no dramatic controversy, just a simple question lingering between the lines. How did one artist inspire thousands of strangers to come together, across borders and languages, for something this sincere? As the report unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't a project led by a company, a brand, or a marketing team. It was born quietly, far from cameras, in the spaces where fans usually talk late at night. Group chats, forums, handwritten notes translated again and again so no one would be left out. Armies from different countries, many of whom would never meet, shared the same idea as winter approached. If Jungkook had given them comfort through his music, could they give something back to the world in his name? Korean media described it as a heartwarming Christmas project, but that phrase barely captured what was happening. Donations were gathered for children who would otherwise spend the holidays without warmth. Letters were written, not to Jungkook, but inspired by him. Messages of hope, resilience, and quiet encouragement. Some fans volunteered their time. Others gave what little they could. No one was trying to go viral. In fact, many didn't even want their names attached. And that's where the story starts to pull you in. Because Jungkook, known globally as the golden magne of BTS, has always been associated with performance, precision, power, talent that seems almost unreal. Yet this project had nothing to do with stages or spotlights. It reflected something deeper that fans often talk about, but rarely see acknowledged by mainstream media. The way his sincerity, humility, and constant effort make people want to be better, not louder. As Christmas drew closer, the project grew. Korean outlets began to notice patterns. Multiple charities receiving support under the same theme, the same timing, the same gentle dedication. It wasn't organized chaos, it was quiet unity. And for a moment, the usual narrative around fandom shifted. Instead of noise, there was kindness. Instead of competition, there was care. Then came the moment that changed the tone of the story entirely. Point one report mentioned a detail almost in passing. Some of the beneficiaries had no idea who Jungkook was. They only knew that strangers, somewhere far away, had thought of them during Christmas. That detail landed heavier than any statistic ever could. Because suddenly, this wasn't about a celebrity at all. It was about influence in its purest form. The kind that travels invisibly from a song, to a listener, to an action that changes someone else's day. For fans reading the article, it felt like holding a mirror up to themselves. For casual readers, it was unexpected. In a media landscape often filled with division, here was a story of people choosing generosity simply because they were inspired to care. Jungkook himself didn't headline the project with a statement. There was no grand acknowledgement. And somehow, that made it more powerful. The absence of spectacle allowed the meaning to stand on its own. Korean media framed it not as a one-time event, but as part of a growing pattern. Fans using milestones, birthdays, and holidays to turn admiration into action. As the story moved toward its close, it left behind a lingering question rather than a conclusion. What does it really mean to support an artist? Is it numbers, streams, trophies? Or is it the ability to reflect their values back into the world? This Christmas project didn't answer that question outright. It simply showed what was possible. And maybe that's why the article stayed with people long after they finished reading. Because in the end, it wasn't just a story about Jungkook, BTS, or even ARMY. It was a reminder that inspiration doesn't end with applause. Sometimes, it continues quietly, through warm meals, small donations, handwritten notes, and moments of connection that never trend, but always matter.